Welcome back, everyone. Well, I can tell you one of the great joys in my life, look at the color on here, is when my granddaughter, who's 7 years old, comes up to me and says, Papa, play my cello.
Nice.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
And the reason, of course, is that her mother, our daughter, grew up, I think, every single day being exposed to what you and I would agree is the most magnificent body of work in modern history.
Yeah, my kids grew up with it too.
I bet. This is Joel Brown, who is Distinguished Artist in Residence. And trust me, the word distinguished applies here, because if you've ever heard Joel play guitar, classical guitar all the way through to the guitar work he's going to do in this concert, you'd understand why the word distinguished is there. And somebody I was just so delighted to meet, who I saw in the hallway up there, this is Sophia Cucci, who is going to perform in arguably one of the best events of all fall, which is Beatlemore Skidmania.
You got it.
I got it.
Yeah,
I got it
nice
right.
work.
First time probably in years I
Nice
got that.
work, yeah.
I got that right. Joel, I want to start with you.
For sure.
I'm doing the math, I think 19 years?
19 years this year, yep.
I think I've been to every one, so
that's
we
wonderful.
could spend the whole interview talking about that. Give me just a sense of history on this.
This event was started 19 years ago, as we said, by Gordon Thompson. Gordon was an ethnomusicologist here at Skidmore. He retired a couple of years ago, but he was teaching courses on the Beatles and British rock and roll, and they decided, his class decided it would be a great idea to put a little show together. Why not, instead of a final or a paper, let's do a concert. And it started off very humbly, if you will. It was just a bunch of kids singing Beatles songs and maybe 35, 40 people in the audience. And they decided to do it again. Well, it started to grow. And pretty soon it grew so much that they had to have security to keep people out. People were sitting in the aisles. They were packed into the hallways trying to get in. And it was, the fire marshal just came in at one point, just shook his head and walked back out. And of course, that was in our old building.
Right.
I don't know if your audience can see this spectacular new hall that we have now at the Zankel Music Center, and that's changed a lot for us. So we now have 3 shows that we sell out instead of having one show with maybe 500 people where there should only be 200 people. Now we have a very comfortable seating for 700 people 3 times.
Oh, it's unbelievable in here. And I was just, while you were saying that, I was thinking of, I forget which year it was, but just when you thought you couldn't take any more, a brass band started marching across
Yes, that was
the
a great
theater
year.
here doing Yellow Submarine.
Yeah,
right?
that was a
You
lot
know
of
what I
fun.
mean?
I do know what you mean.
What's remarkable about this is not only the music, but it's the interpretation of the music. And I want to talk to Sophia about this. This happens to be the 50th year of Abbey Road. So many stories you could talk about the music of Abbey Road, or the production, or the artistry involved with putting that record together, which you just don't see in a lifetime, and all of a sudden it's there. You're a senior now. You got hooked on this pretty early on when you in your career here at Skidmore, right?
Yes, so I joined the Skidmore Accents a cappella group in my freshman year, and I've been a part of Beatlemore with that group ever since, so all 3 years that I was in the group when Beatlemore was happening. And this year's really exciting. We're doing She Came In Through the Bathroom Window, which is really fun. It's a really cool 60s swung style arrangement, which is different from the original recording, and I think that that's something so interesting about all of the acts, is that they really put their own spin on every song.
They do. Now the Accents, of course, is an a cappella group. A lot of members, like 12 members or something like that, right? Because I remember 2 things about it. Some of the other songs that you've interpreted over the years have just been stunning. But the way that you work with each other is also amazing.
Yeah.
You swap leads, somebody sings a bridge, somebody does a chorus, and those interpretations have just been stunning to listen to. And again, the interpretation is what always hits me, Joel. I mean, you've done some songs where they've just been percussion.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
for sure.
It's just absolutely stunning stuff. So tell me a bit about this year. How are you approaching this one?
Well, the approach is pretty much the same as every year, and we sort of get the call out there for acts to listen to the music and figure out what they might do with it, and that's when the fun starts. It's also when the knot in your stomach starts, because you think, well, I hope somebody's still interested in the Beatles, but I know I've got to give that up, because I know in 100 years when they're doing Beatlemore here, there's still going to be people interested in the music of the Beatles. But This year we put the call out, and we got a lot of variety, everything from a little bluegrass band doing a song to a jazz group doing a song, and so there's some singing, and there's some instrumentals, and then always at the end, the big grand finale that includes as many of the students as we can in the audience, and the Rust Brothers too, right at the center.
Oh, with the Rust Brothers.
Yeah, of course, it wouldn't be the same without the Rust Brothers.
I'm not going to say anything about the Rust Brothers except Maz.
Yeah, except Maz, right?
Except Maz.
Okay, well, you've got his plug in, right?
You've got his plug, and you're going to have to see what I mean by that. The way the evening rolls out is always very interesting to me too. This sort of informal way that there's this collaboration on stage, right? The students sit and listen to the other students.
Yeah,
they get up, they join in. And before you know it, there's this absolutely wonderful sense of what's going on stage from all of this creative power, right? What's that like for you?
It's such a community. I mean, you're surrounded by people that you know, and this just makes you feel even closer to them. I mean, I remember one of my favorite moments of my time at Skidmore was 2 years ago. A band performed Penny Lane. It was the first time that I saw them perform, and I remember just like tearing up on stage because it was so beautiful, and everyone was so connected in that moment.
God, I mean, you know, it's so funny. You stopped me in my tracks. I remember that.
Yeah.
The singer.
Wasn't that unbelievable?
Yeah.
You know, we're really talking about, Sophia, it must be funny for you because here Joel and I could sit here all day and talk about this. This was our generation. It wasn't your generation. No. But what attracts you to it? What attracts you to this music?
So when I grew up, my uncle is a huge Beatles fan, and therefore my mom is. And I grew up watching the Beatles movies, even more than listening to the music necessarily. Help was one of my favorite movies growing up. So that inspired me, obviously, to listen to the music more than I was, and my mom played it in the house, and my uncle would play it for me. My dad is also a Beatles fan, but I really got that part from my mom. So that's kind of what drew me to this, especially being a part of the planning team. There's a student planning team that kind of runs the event along with Joel, and that's what drew me towards doing that side of it. Performing, obviously I love performing, and singing Beatles music is incredibly exciting. So.
Well, you know, you could learn so much by just listening to the construct of the way how brilliant they are as writers.
Yeah,
you know?
every little angle, every bit of it.
Everything you can think of is covered. You know, I want to take one side step because behind us here, you're going to notice that every year, when you talk about collaboration, it's not only the people on stage, it's the art department gets involved, and the students get involved, and they understand which album you're focusing on. And quite honestly, I'm noticing here that when you did Pepper, you know, looking at the psychedelia in the poster there, the classic sense of this, which goes back to the very early days. And this one, Grace Jeannot, we're going to give you a quick little shout out here, designed this poster. And anybody who knows the cover of Abbey Road knows this is a beautiful interpretation of that cover of Abbey Road.
A lot of people have asked, why are Paul's hands red? Why do you think Paul's hands are red?
I don't know. I was going to ask you, do you know why?
No, but the only thing I can tell you is that the only thing missing is the Volkswagen to give us a clue that he may be dead. So I suspect that the student was clever enough that she did her research and knew that Paul looked a little different on that record, because maybe he's dead.
Well, the Volkswagen he's referring to had a license plate on it that said 28IF. And it was that back in the day, people thought that Paul had died, and that he would have been 28 years old.
Right.
So
he
there
would
were
have
some
actually been 27.
Yes,
that
that's
was
right.
It's a little detail.
That's just a nuance, Joel. What are the dates for the event this year?
November 22nd, there's one show at 8 o'clock, and then Saturday, November 23rd, there are two shows, one at 2 and one at 8, and all three are selling very well.
Oh, I know.
So,
now, are all three open to the public? Because one of them used to be just students, remember?
Yeah, we always had that, students only, but we would welcome everybody.
Yes,
if somebody showed up and wanted, we weren't checking IDs. So hopefully crowds will come out for Saturday night too. I mean, not hopefully, I know they will. They always do. And but everybody's welcome. We sort of took that off the advertising so that people felt, because a lot of people would not buy tickets because they thought they couldn't.
Yes, right. Okay, so it's Friday, November 22nd, and Saturday, November 23rd, two shows, 2 p.m. and 8 p.m. And go ahead.
There's another part of the show that we've kind of left out and we haven't talked much about,
go
and
ahead.
that's the charity aspect of this.
Oh,
is
yes,
that all the proceeds go through an organization on campus called Skidmore Cares, and then that money is distributed to community agencies that take good care of people that need taken care of, homeless shelters, women's shelters, school supplies for children that can't afford them, and et cetera, et cetera. So over the years, each show, I mean, I don't know the exact figures, but it's got to be at least $12,000 per show that we're able to give to the community. So everybody that comes to the concert buys a ticket, buys a poster, buys a T-shirt.
Sure.
Look
Oh,
at this.
yeah.
Check it out, Jesse. Here, you hold that side. There we go. Teamwork.
That's fantastic.
Isn't that beautiful? So everybody that buys one of these, they're doing something really wonderful for the community. Not just experiencing this great music and these creative students, but really something good for people.
Thank you for mentioning that. I've interviewed Skidmore Cares. It's a tremendous organization. And so you must be psyched, huh? You
I'm so excited. Yeah, we've been rehearsing so much.
I bet
we're
you
ready.
have. And you know what? The excitement that they have really comes so much from what you guys do. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. I love this event, and Sophia was talking about the excitement of being surrounded by people that she knows, and what I got to tell you the truth, I love being surrounded by people I don't know. I look back, I say, well, I don't know who some of these students are, but I'm just as excited as they are, and they're just as excited as I am, and it just makes for a great night.
That's a universal bond of music, and when it comes to the Beatles, it's elevated to places we will be studying for the rest of our lives, and so will you, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
don't forget, November 22nd, November 23rd, please get here. Get here early, and just be prepared to really experience something unique. Thank you, Sophia. It's a pleasure to meet you. Joel, great to see you as always.
Thank you so much, Jesse.
Okay, you want to see this interview again? You can head to our website, looktvonline.com.
By the banks of her own lagoon.